Imagine this, you're sitting in the train with your guitar inside the gig bag, and because of course you're listening to your favorite Spotify playlist, you almost forget to leave the train in time for your station. Since you're in a rush, you swing your gig bag around your shoulder and hit plenty of innocent civilians around you. A random dude, a random dudette, an old granny, and last but not least, an adorable child which you deform for the rest of its life. You wish you could have prevented this, right? Well, how about a smaller sized instrument, which is much more portable? You're probably thinking of a ukulele, do you? With a ukulele, which is definitely much smaller than a full-size guitar, you would less likely endanger the people around you. That sounds like a viable option, doesn't it? But you don't want to settle for 4 strings. You want the whole tonal range of especially those thick and girthy strings, am I right? Then fear not and try 20-inch scale guitars. I repeat myself, 20-inch scale guitars. After searching for those smaller size guitars, you probably found the aNueNue S20e and the Cordoba Mini OCE. But which one should you get? Let's find out. So if you've always wanted a comparison between the two 20-inch scale guitars, S20e by aNueNue and the Cordoba Mini OCE, then you came to the right place. I will first go over the specs and my personal experience with those two guitars, and at the end of the video I will show you how they sound, through the mic and through the pickups. Little disclaimer before we start the comparison review. I bought all the guitars and articles myself. Neither aNueNue nor Cordoba know that I'm making this video, so this is my honest opinion. Measurement wise, those two guitars are pretty much identical. Both have a 20-inch scale length, which is 510mm for metric system users, and the nut width is 48mm. The S20e features a full mahogany body and the Mini OCE has a full ovuncle body. Both have mahogany necks with rosewood fretboards, but the Cordoba has only 18 frets while the S20e has 19. Both have a matte open pore finish, which I prefer to a high gloss finish because it looks much more like natural wood. I bought the Cordoba Mini OCE for 324 euros, which is roughly 390 USD at the online store Musikhaus Korn, and I paid 318 USD plus 45 USD shipping for the aNueNue S20e. I actually bought it on eBay from a potentially sketchy seller in Hong Kong, but it's hard to find anywhere else and it was the only option that allowed me to pay via PayPal, which I personally prefer. Even though this topic is more subjective, I just want to say that I'm a fan of the aNueNue design. Don't get me wrong, I love that Cordoba stays true to the traditional design of a classical guitar, but I always appreciate ideas that bring something new and different to the table. I mean, of course, the placement of the sound hole for the aNueNue guitar sticks out, and combine that with the overall wide and round curvy shape of the body, to me, it fits together nicely. The only thing I would change is the cutaway. I mean, I get that it is convex to fit the overall body design, but I would place it a little bit lower to make the higher frets much more accessible. But one thing, or you could say two things, the aNueNue does have and the Cordoba does not are the strap buttons. That's right, the aNueNue comes with guitar strap buttons pre-installed, while the Cordoba does not. For the Cordoba, I actually drilled a hole into the bottom and screwed the strap button in myself. And to be honest, I was not a fan of drilling a hole into my guitar. I mean, you can't hold these smaller guitars like classical guitars, and I don't like these clip guitar straps. So I installed one guitar strap button at the bottom of the Cordoba and tied the other end of the guitar strap to the head. Since the aNueNue comes with strap buttons, you don't have that trouble, which is a huge plus. One thing I'm not too fond of on both guitars are the bridges. Both have pin bridges, which are more common on steel string guitars, and since those two guitars do use nylon strings, this kinda confuses me. I mean, yeah, pin bridges are compact and it looks pretty neat to be honest, but when changing the strings, there is this small time frame in which the string tension is not tight enough, which causes the pin to pop out more easily. I don't know exactly why, but it happens. Maybe I just suck dealing with pin bridges. But the Yamaha GL Guitarlele is even smaller in size but does have a not tie bridge like a classical guitar. Overall, I can say the build quality on both guitars is great. The necks are straight and they both stay in tune pretty nicely, although both have some caveats that diminish my positive impression. For the Cordoba, it is the fretwork, and I don't mean fret buzz. Not at all. The frets seem to be perfectly level, so there is no issue with fret buzz or whatsoever. The problem is the fretwork on the side of the neck. On the sides, some frets were really sharp, so that I had to file them myself. This is something I actually never experienced before, even on cheaper guitars. On the S20e we don't have an issue with sharp fret ends, but we do have an issue with fret buzz. But for this I'm not quite sure if it's actually my fault. So on both guitars I use the same string set, the Cordoba Mini String Set E tuning. While it works perfectly well with the Cordoba Mini OCE, the strings are a tad too thick for the aNueNue. The grooves on the nut are a bit too thin, so that the strings sit more on top of the nut instead of going through the grooves. Which I know is bad and stuff, but I don't really want to adjust the nut myself, because I might ruin it and then I would have to get a whole new nut and stuff. I would need to get my hands on the strings aNueNue offer themselves, but actually I'm kinda too lazy for that right now. Both guitars have a pretty thin neck, so it's not as crazy as an Ibanez or something, but it's a pretty thin kinda C-shaped neck. I really like that, because I played mostly electric guitars with fast necks before, so to me that feels just like home. Even though the necks are pretty similar on both guitars, the string action on the aNueNue is noticeably lower than the one on the Cordoba. On the S20e the distance between string and fretboard on the 12th fret is 3 mm, on the Cordoba it's 5. And guess what? Those 2 mm make a huge difference when playing. Playing on the aNueNue is much more comfortable. Okay, but enough of the talking, here is the long-awaited sound test. I really like both guitars. Even though the Cordoba Mini OCE had sharp edges, it's still a really nice and well-crafted guitar overall. But for me, I'm pretty much a sucker for playability. That's why I prefer the aNueNue S20e. I do have fret buzz, but that issue might be solved if I ever get a hold of aNueNue's original strings, or maybe I find other strings that fit. And overall, I really like the more modern design with the aNueNue. But would I recommend this guitar? Yes and no. I mean, yes, if you're into these smaller scale guitars, then sure. But you have to keep in mind that this guitar is hard to find outside of Asia. As mentioned in the beginning, I bought mine off some random shop on eBay and got lucky. By the way, at the time of recording, the eBay seller doesn't offer this guitar anymore, but otherwise it's really hard to find. And if you find a shop that sells the guitar, you will probably have to pay plenty shipping costs and maybe even custom taxes. So the guitar itself is a yes, but going through the hassle of getting one is more on the no side. Nonetheless, the Cordoba Mini OCE is a nice alternative if you don't mind the higher string action. Okay, so guys, this was quite a long video. I hope you enjoyed watching it nonetheless. If you did, then I would really appreciate a like and if you subscribe to my channel. And do you play the guitar yourself? Have you ever endangered random people by swinging around your instrument? I'd like to know, so feel free to leave a comment if you want. Okay, until next time, bye!